After being diagnosed with terminal cancer, I finally had the wedding I'd waited 50 years for. My longtime partner walked toward me holding a microphone, hand in hand with his true love. Shuyi, I'll take care of myself after you're gone. Then he knelt on one knee in a romantic gesture I'd never experienced, slipping a ring onto her finger. Ningxi, after all these years we've missed, we can finally be together. I struggled forward angrily, but my daughter stopped me. Mom, you can go peacefully, our family of 3 will live happily together. There's one more thing I shouldn't hide from you, I'm actually Aunt Gu's daughter. Back then, Dad couldn't bear seeing Mom suffer, so he had the fertilized embryo implanted in you. The sheer rage made my cancer metastasize prematurely. When I opened my eyes again, I'd returned to my daughter's 6th year and my husband had been reborn too. Song Shuyi, stop mopping. I just saw your husband picking up your daughter from kindergarten with that homewrecker. Our neighbor's well-meaning warning snapped me out of tragic memories of my past life. After thanking them, I rushed straight to the kindergarten. The moment I arrived, I saw my daughter Shanshan sitting on Gu Ningxi's lap, carefully hiding outside the door. I took out my phone to gather evidence. With tears in her eyes, Shanshan complained to Xia Huaiji, Daddy, when can I finally be with my real mom again? That awful woman at home just nags me about studying all day. I can't stand living with her anymore. Amidst Shanshan's endless complaints, Gu Ningxi couldn't help but pout at Xia Huaiji. Huaiji, you've already used Song Shuyi's womb. Why haven't you divorced her yet? Xia Huaiji's expression froze, visibly conflicted. It's not the right time to bring up divorce yet. We need to carefully consider this matter. Gu Ningxi punched Xia Huaiji's arm, her face twisted with resentment. Huaiji, we've been given this rare second chance. Don't you want to make up for the happiness we missed in our past life? This was beyond anything I could have imagined. Xia Huaiji and Gu Ningxi, they were actually reborn too. After a moment's thought, I took a deep breath, though these people made me sick to my stomach. But for now, I must hold back. Only by obtaining evidence of Xia Huaiji's infidelity and deceit can I make him leave with nothing, securing enough money for my future cancer treatment. I turned and walked away, already retracing what had happened during these days in my past life. The first thing I did after returning home, hidden cameras were installed in corners they'd never notice. 3 days passed in silent waiting. Just like last time, Xia Huaiji returned with our daughter and Gu Ningxi in tow. The moment he saw me, he announced with unshakable confidence, you know Ningxi's parents are gone, and she's got nowhere to stay. I'm bringing her home with us for a while. In my past life, when Xia Huaiji made this suggestion, I completely lost it, screamed at Xia Huaiji and slapped Gu Ningxi right then, telling her to get out. In the end, Xia Huaiji called me unreasonable and disappeared with our daughter for 3 months. Only on my deathbed did I learn that Xia Huaiji had been squandering money abroad with those 2 women for 3 months, all because I vehemently opposed it. That's why Xia Huaiji never slipped up again, ultimately leading to my tragic demise. This time, I've changed my mind. I forced a smile and stepped forward to take Gu Ningxi's hand. Ningxi's been your childhood sweetheart and dear younger sister. It's only right I treat her like family too. When would our little sister like to move in? I'll go prepare her room right now. Xia Huaiji and Gu Ningxi froze simultaneously. Shuyi, you're actually agreeing just like that. Xia Huaiji looked at me suspiciously, as if puzzled by how different I was from my previous life. I nodded vigorously. Darling, didn't you always complain that I lacked propriety and wasn't gentle or tolerant enough? I want to try changing myself to be the kind of wife you'd adore. My obedient demeanor quickly dissolved Xia Huaiji's wariness. Beaming with delight, he coaxed me with sweet words. Shuyi, I always knew marrying you was the right decision. Hearing Xia Huaiji say this, Gu Ningxi immediately put on a pitiful act, mimicking my pretend maturity. Huaiji, I could have managed at the hotel just fine. Won't staying here be too much trouble for you all? Though Sister Shuyi didn't say anything, I'm sure she's unhappy about it deep down. Not giving Gu Ningxi a chance to hesitate, I pulled her straight into the house. How could that be? From today onward, make yourself at home here. Everything I have is yours. Seeing me like this, Xia Huaiji only became more emboldened. Just let Shuyi know if you need anything. Ningxi, in my peripheral vision, I saw Gu Ningxi glaring at me with gritted teeth, while Shanshan stuck her tongue out at me in disgust. Sure enough, the moment I turned away, I overheard Shanshan whispering to Gu Ningxi, that old hag is putting on an act again. She's definitely up to no good. Don't worry Mom, I'll protect you no matter what. Concealing my smirk, I began preparing dinner for them with exaggerated enthusiasm. The neighbor grew curious seeing me buy so much groceries today. Are you expecting guests today? Buying all this poultry and meat like it's Chinese New Year come early. I shook my head and told them bluntly, my husband brought his first love to live with us. Now I'll have one more mouth to feed, so naturally I need to stock up. The neighbors who'd long heard rumors about Guningshi were utterly shocked. That husband of yours fooling around with that homewrecker was bad enough, but actually bringing her home, no shame at all, honey. My heart breaks for you. I lowered my head in silence, letting everyone believe I'd been wronged. Given how well liked I am among the neighbors, I knew this news would spread through the neighborhood in no time. That evening, I prepared a lavish dinner that had Xia Huaiji absolutely delighted. He couldn't stop praising me. You're such a wonderful wife. I can rest easy knowing Ningxi is in your care. Gu Ningxi could only force a smile in Xia Huaiji's presence, but that night, just as I'd undressed to shower, Gu Ningxi suddenly barged into the bathroom. She stood frozen in the doorway, letting out a horrified scream at the sight of my postpartum belly. Shuyi, your stomach looks like it's crawling with maggots. How revolting. Xia Huaiji rushed over at the sound. He saw me frantically trying to cover myself. Right in front of me, Xia Huaiji embraced Gu Ningxi, who looked terrified. If it makes you sick, don't watch. Shanshan's been pestering you to play with her. You'd better go. After coaxing Gu Ningxi away, he paused briefly before turning back to comfort me. Ningxi hasn't had children. She wouldn't understand these things. Don't take it to heart. With that, he closed the door behind him. Biting my lower lip and tracing the stretch marks, I still couldn't stop the tears from falling. Xia Huaiji spared Gu Ningxi all the pains of childbirth by having their child implanted in my womb instead. For 10 long months, morning sickness plagued me relentlessly. Pregnancy left me with stretch marks, incontinence, hemorrhoids, and gynecological issues. I suffered through them all. I endured these agonies willingly, loving our child because I loved Xia Huaiji. Only at death's door did I realize I'd been nothing but a foolish pawn. I scrubbed away my tears fiercely, lingering in the bathroom to deliberately give Xia Huaiji and Gu Ningxi privacy. Stepping out of the shower, I immediately went for a walk around the neighborhood. I deliberately headed to the most crowded exercise area, dabbing my eyes continuously with a handkerchief. Neighbors who recognized me came over with concern. Shuyi, what's troubling you? I sighed, tears streaming down my face. My husband brought his unforgettable first love to live with us, and I'm too afraid to disturb them at home, but my heart aches so much. Just now his first love mocked my stretch marks, saying they look like maggots, spreading the word about their disgraceful affair. I dragged my feet all the way home. The moment I stepped inside, Shanshan hurled her toy at me. My bunny's filthy, go wash it right now. I picked up the toy with icy disdain and threw it back. Don't you adore Aunt Ningxi? Let her wash it for you. Shanshan immediately jumped off the couch, hands on hips, yelling at me. Aunt Ningxi's hands are so fair and delicate, she mustn't do any dirty or tiring work. You brought me into this world, it's your duty to take care of me. I looked at my rough, cracked hands from years of housework and sneered. If you like Aunt Ningxi so much, why don't you just make her your mother? Shanshan immediately snorted. Humph, I'd love that. Who wants you as my mother anyway? Amidst the standoff, Xia Huaiji and Gu Ningxi emerged together from the bedroom. Seeing my icy expression, Xia Huaiji mirrored my displeasure. What kind of mother behaves like this? Ningxi is our guest. How could you possibly ask her to help with chores? Shanshan nodded vigorously. Exactly. Aunt Ningxi isn't like you at all. You were born to be a servant. Gu Ningxi pretended to fluster while smugly picking up Shanshan. Sister Shuyi, kids say the darndest things. Don't take it to heart. I'll take Shanshan out right now so she doesn't upset you again. As she spoke, she pointed to a basin of dirty clothes. Oh, these are my underwear from today. Could you wash them for me? Shuyi, they're all silk, so no machine washing, hand wash only. I stayed silent, only acting after their family of 3 left. I soaked all the clothes in a basin of water and then stomped on them until they were ruined. When Gu Ningxi returned, she was indeed furious upon seeing the ruined clothes in the basin. Didn't I tell you to hand wash them? Look at how ruined these clothes are. Don't tell me you're unhappy that I moved in and are deliberately trying to make things difficult for me. Maybe she knew the outcome of my previous life where I was driven to death by anger, so Gu Ningxi treated herself like the mistress, pouting and complaining about me in front of Xia Huaiji and Shanshan. Shanshan also glared at me fiercely. As stupid as a big sow, Xia Huaiji noticed the awkward atmosphere and started to comfort Gu Ningxi. Pregnancy makes you dumb for 3 years. She's like this after having a baby. Don't get upset over such a small matter. I'll compensate you for the damaged clothes. I'll buy you new ones. Gu Ningxi blinked her eyes. I guess getting pregnant and having a baby makes you really dumb. Good thing I never had one. With that, she also raised an eyebrow and gave me a challenging glance. The deeper meaning of her words was clear. I clenched my fists, but couldn't explode. To cover up, I bowed my head and silently sobbed, hiding my hands behind me, pretending to look wronged. This provoked another round of cold mockery from Gu Ningxi. Sister Shui, you're not exactly young anymore, and you've had a child. Pretending to be pitiful is really not a good look. It's actually kind of funny. A housewife should act like a housewife, don't you think? Shanshan clapped along. Aunt Ningxi is absolutely right. It was Xia Huaiji who noticed I was keeping my head down and came over to me. Let's just forget about today's incident. Be more careful in the future and stop always making Ningxi angry. I already knew through the hidden camera, Gu Ningxi is deliberately bullying me. She doesn't want to wait until she's 50 to marry Xia Huaiji again, like in her previous life. So she and Xia Huaiji played good cop bad cop, trying to deliberately torment me and force me to initiate the divorce. As long as I initiate the divorce, Xia Huaiji can preserve most of the assets and kick me out openly. However, they don't know, so their clever plan is doomed to fail. I've gathered enough evidence. Chapter 2. That evening, I expressed my intention to apologize to Gu Ningxi and prepared a large table of dishes. However, as I carried the boiling soup out of the kitchen, a foot suddenly stuck out and tripped me hard. The moment I fell, I knew something was seriously wrong. Quick thinking, I immediately flung the soup pot out of my hands and fell backward onto the ground. Bang! Even though I managed to avoid the burn, my head still hit the ground hard. Gu Ningxi leisurely walked out with Shanshan from the side, watching me fall flat on my back. Shanshan burst out laughing and jumped around. Ugly woman fell flat on her face. Ha ha ha. Gu Ningxi feigned a scolding while stopping Shanshan. When your mom falls, you should help her up, not laugh at her. Indifferently watching me. Sister Shui, how could you be so careless? Look, the soup is all spilled. What a waste. She pointed to the pot that had fallen out and the soup spilled all over the floor, urging me. Are you okay? If you're fine, hurry up and clean the floor. Your husband will be very angry if he sees this when he gets back. After all, you're just a used shoe who's had a child. No one wants you except Xia Huaiji. I suppressed the raging anger in my heart, silently enduring the pain as I got up to clean. After dinner, I deliberately limped out the door. Then, at the place where the neighbors gathered for exercise, I cried out about what Gu Ningxi had done to me. The neighbor lady took pity on me, brought me home, and comforted me with fruit. The whole family was also worried about me. With you gone for so long, wouldn't that pair of scoundrels take the opportunity to sneak into bed? Exactly, in my opinion. Your husband brought that vixen back to do evil. I sighed and wiped the corner of my eye. Probably not, especially since there are kids. After saying that, I grabbed my neighbor's hand with a worried expression. But I'm really worried too. What if you come home with me? Sister, just in case they really did something dirty. I couldn't finish my sentence and broke down in tears again. The neighbor's sister and her husband were both furious and insisted on accompanying me home. If they're really that shameless, we can help you catch them in the act. I immediately bowed gratefully to the older brother and sister. Thank you. I really don't know what I would have done without you. In the meantime, they led me home with great force. At the doorstep, they reminded me to move quietly and not to scare off the snake. Through remote surveillance, I know they are currently doing something shady in the room. I crept in quietly and waited in front of the bedroom. I took out the spare key I had prepared earlier and inserted it directly into the lock to open the door. The door swung open. There was a loud thud. Someone had fallen off the bed, my neighbor, and I looked up. Gu Ningxi was hurriedly pulling the blanket to hide in the corner. I changed from my previous submissive demeanor and shouted with full force, Xia Huaiji, what were you and Gu Ningxi sneaking around doing in the room? Without giving them any time to react, I rushed to Gu Ningxi's side and slapped her left cheek with a loud smack. It's bad enough that you're staying in my house, but to seduce my husband in broad daylight, you have no shame. Shan Shan from next door heard the commotion and rushed over. Seeing me rough up Ningxi Gu, she immediately stepped in to protect her. You can't bully Aunt Ningxi. The neighbors, brother, and sister, were quite surprised. Shanshan, she's your mother. How could you side with an outsider like that? I smiled, then slapped Gu Ningxi across the face again. You seduced my husband, and now you want to take my daughter too. What spell did you cast on my daughter? It seems like she's ready to call you mom. My shout echoed through the entire floor, and I made a move to take Shanshan back. Gu Ningxi was instantly stunned by my slap, covering her face in shock, unsure how to react. Shan Shan, unable to stand it for Gu Ningxi, grabbed my arm and bit down hard. How dare you hit Aunt Ningxi, you wicked woman, I'll bite you to death. I showed no mercy to Shan Shan either. lifting her up and tossing her onto the bed. Shanshan had never seen me so violent before and was scared into wailing, "Daddy, Daddy. The bad woman is bullying me." Seeing this, Xia Huaiji quickly got dressed and came over to restrain my arms. "Song Shui, are you crazy? What kind of scene are you causing like this?" I chuckled. "If you're so ashamed, then don't do anything that makes you look bad. It's fine if you're still tangled up with your first love, but now you're making my daughter call her mom. People might think you're a family." Since I deliberately left the door open, this drama attracted many neighbors. They had long heard about the misdeeds of Xia Huaiji and Gu Ningxi, and now they caught them in the act. They all rushed into my house, pointing and whispering at Xia Huaiji and Gu Ningxi. "How shameless, bringing a homewrecker straight into the house to commit adultery. This daughter is no good." Actually siding with the mistress to bully her own mother, Shanshan was terrified by the scene and kept hiding behind Gu Ningxi. "Aunt Ningxi, I'm scared." Gu Ningxi hugged Shanshan, her eyes turning red, and she shed tears on the spot. "Sister Shui, I was just having some back pain, and Xia Huaiji was helping me with a massage. Xia Huaiji and I are completely innocent. You can slander me, but you can't doubt your husband." Xia Huaiji was desperately trying to appease her, pulling me along to explain forcefully, "You know, I've always treated Gu Ningxi as a sister. In such a short time, what could we possibly do? I knew you wouldn't just accept Ningxi moving in quietly. Did you deliberately bring someone to slander Ningxi?" Xia Huaiji probably didn't expect such a big change in me this lifetime. He narrowed his eyes, trying to gauge my reaction. To avoid arousing his suspicion, I wiped away my tears, feeling wronged. "Honey, I've never doubted you, but all the rumors outside are really making me anxious." The neighbor lady couldn't stand by, so she brought her husband and stood by my side. "It was us who suggested your wife come back to catch you in the act. So what? If you're truly innocent, why get so defensive? We all saw what you and that vixen were up to." After saying that, the eldest sister turned around and started spreading the news to the neighbors. "Just now, we heard them doing something shameful through the bedroom door. It was so embarrassing. When we pushed the door open, Shu Yi's husband was right on top of that vixen." The neighbors were in an uproar. Some suggesting to beat up the mistress, others wanting to post it online, and some encouraging me to get a divorce. Xia Huaiji was feeling embarrassed and started yelling at the neighbors, "Mind your own business, get lost." After saying that, he glared at me fiercely. "Song Shui, you've really made it big. Look at what you've done. Don't you forget, it was you who begged me to marry you. I was just being kind to my childhood friend's sister, and you pulled a stunt to get back at me. With your malicious behavior, how can we possibly get through this?" As expected, Xia Huaiji turned the tables on me and blamed everything on me. Indeed, I was the one who pursued Xia Huaiji. It's because Xia Huaiji has a high education, a Ph.D., while I only graduated from a junior college, coming from a small town, so I always feel inferior when facing Xia Huaiji. I've always been timid and only quietly devoted myself to Xia Huaiji. I would go out of my way to take care of him when he was cold or hungry. After he and Gu Ningxi separated by chance and couldn't be together, it was me who stayed by his side every day to comfort him. He didn't want to take responsibility after we had a relationship while he was drunk. It was me who lowered my self-respect and said it was okay. Eventually, Xia Huaiji finally agreed to date and marry me. I thought it was my persistent sincerity that had moved him. Only on my deathbed did I understand. When Xia Huaiji married me, he had already planned to use my womb. Just let the fertilized egg implant in my womb. Gu Ningxi could have a child without pain, but their exploitation of me did not end just because I had a child. They treated me like a free, unpaid nanny, raising Shanshan and providing her with a house and a car. I poured my entire life's efforts into my daughter, even sparing myself the luxury of buying some fruit. But in the end, this daughter of mine deliberately upset me on my deathbed. These three people literally drained me dry, inside and out. On the day I was reborn, I decided to take back everything that belongs to me, but for now, I wasn't in a hurry to tear things apart with Xia Huaiji. I simply continued to act like the easy target I always was, pulling Xia Huaiji aside. "Honey, since you hate me so much, let's get a divorce." The neighbors are also worried for me. "Your husband is the one who made the mistake. You don't need to be afraid." Xia Huaiji's eyes lit up. "Shui, I didn't say we're getting a divorce, but if you want one, I can grant you that." He glanced back at Gu Ningxi. Gu Ningxi was so embarrassed she wanted to hide in a hole, but when she heard me bring up the divorce, she thought her scheme had succeeded and peeked out to exchange a look with Xia Huaiji. Even Shanshan couldn't help but jump up. "Divorce, I don't want this bad mom anymore." Xia Huaiji gained confidence and pointed at my nose, shouting, "You'd better remember, the divorce was your idea, not mine. Yes, it was me who brought it up. I suppressed a smirk and informed Xia Huaiji. Then you can just wait to sign the divorce papers. After saying that, I packed a few simple belongings and left the house. As for the neighbors, they were still angrily blocking the door, condemning the two of them on my behalf. Xia Huaiji thought his scheme had succeeded, so he also engaged in a shouting match with the neighbors, then drove them all away. After the incident of catching them in bed, Xia Huaiji and Gu Ningxi's reputation was completely ruined. I knew they had originally planned to drive me out, sell the house, and take Shanshan to live somewhere where no one knew them, but I won't give them the satisfaction. That very night, I compiled all evidence of Xia Huaiji's infidelity and drafted divorce papers with my lawyer's assistance. The next day, I arranged to meet Xia Huaiji at the law firm. When Xia arrived, his face was twisted in irritation. Why not just go through the formalities? Why make it so complicated? He probably still thought I was the same person from our past life, someone who'd sacrifice everything just to cling to him and our daughter. But when he opened the divorce papers, he froze on the spot. Song Shui, have you lost your mind? How dare you demand I walk away with nothing? I smiled faintly and signaled the lawyer to turn on the projector. In an instant, footage of Xia Huaiji and Gu Ningxi being intimate at home appeared before his eyes. Xia Huaiji's jaw dropped in shock. I kindly reminded him, do you need me to refresh your memory about your secret dealings with Gu Ningxi? I tapped the table, pointing at the clauses in the divorce agreement that demanded the division of all assets. If you refuse to sign the divorce agreement, we'll take it to court. At that point, I'll submit all the evidence of your infidelity to the court. I believe the court will make a fair judgment. Xia Huaiji snapped back to reality and shouted at me, grinding his teeth, Song Shui, you actually played the fool to catch the wise and schemed against me. Why is it only allowed for you and Gu Ningxi to scheme against me, but not for me to scheme against you? Now that I have all the evidence, I no longer fear Xia Huaiji. At this point, I no longer fear leaving Xia Huaiji, even though this man is the one I pursued with all my heart, even though I have given my entire youth to him. But having died once, I now understand the importance of cutting losses in time. I sat calmly in my chair, looking completely at ease. Don't forget, I have an entire neighborhood of neighbors as my witnesses. They all support me in making you leave with nothing. They'll take turns testifying in court, detailing how badly you've treated me. The judge might even order you to pay me compensation for emotional distress. I may not have much education, but I'm not stupid. In my early years, I also secretly found time to study for an adult bachelor's degree after getting married and having children. Back then, I just wanted to be more worthy of Xia Huaiji. Little did I expect, the various legal knowledge I learned in my previous life would be applied to myself in this life. Xia Huaiji, when it comes to court, not only will you lose your money, but you'll also embarrass yourself along with Gu Ningxi. Xia Huaiji didn't expect me to be so ruthless. Catching him off guard, he was stunned for a long time, waving his fists at me threateningly. You're just a small-town girl with a junior college degree. How did you suddenly become so shrewd? Tell me honestly, did you start cheating on me with another man long ago? Did another man tell you to do this? He was red with anger, pointing like a mad dog at the lawyer I hired. Is this the man? Is he your lover? I won't let you two get away with this. The lawyer slammed the table and sternly reprimanded Xia Huaiji. Sir, please watch your language, otherwise, I will sue you for defamation. Xia Huaiji protested loudly. Sue me, I'm a doctor. I've seen a lot, and I can defend myself in court without a lawyer. He pointed at my nose, his contempt for me evident. I never expected you to be so good at stabbing people in the back, even if you can't get anywhere with your studies. I underestimated you, you little community college girl. With your character and intelligence, you'll be stuck being someone's servant for life. No highly educated man will ever want you except me. You'd better think carefully. Without me, you'll only end up with those vocational school guys delivering packages and takeout. Seeing Xia Huaiji's arrogant demeanor, I was completely enraged. I slammed the table and stood up. Xia Huaiji, did you stuff all your books into a dog's stomach? What else can you do besides looking down on people? What's wrong with vocational school? What's wrong with junior college? Aren't we all working diligently, doing our part to contribute to society? As long as one doesn't break the law or do anything immoral, what does it matter if this person has never been to school? I shut Xia Huaiji up with my clear logic. At least we're not like you. Despite having a PhD, you've forgotten all sense of propriety and shame, and you even had an affair in front of a child. After shouting, I let out a cold laugh. Oh, I forgot. This child is yours with Gu Ningxi, so of course, you wouldn't care about scaring the child. The divorce agreement hadn't mentioned the part about them using my womb to have a baby. When I said that, Xia Huaiji, who had been about to argue, suddenly looked horrified. He couldn't immediately think that I had also been reborn, and instead stammered in a rush to deny it. You, don't spread rumors, okay? Shanshan clearly came out of your womb. How could she possibly be my daughter with Gu Ningxi, Song Shui? If you keep spreading rumors, I'll sue you for slander. He also stepped forward and grabbed the lawyer. How much do you charge for a lawsuit? I want to sue this woman. She slandered me and spread malicious rumors about me. Seeing Xia Huaiji's expression, I burst out laughing. Xia Huaiji, aren't you a doctor? Don't you know that all it takes is a paternity test to clear everything up? Shame on you, a so-called high-end mighty doctoral student, for forgetting this and trying to argue your way out. I patted my stomach, taking the opportunity to vent all the grievances I've accumulated from my past life to this one. Because of giving birth to that daughter, my stomach is covered in ugly stretch marks. I suffered from morning sickness and vomiting during pregnancy, and even after giving birth, I still had urinary incontinence, none of which you ever cared about. Perhaps while I was pregnant, you were smugly holding Gu Ningxi. Pleased with yourself for tricking a fool like me into having your child. Before I knew it, tears welled up in my eyes again, but I'm still very happy. I'm grateful that fate has given me another chance to seek justice for myself in this life. Even if Shanshan isn't biologically mine, I gave birth to her at great risk and raised her myself. She inherited your and Gu Ningxi's selfish genes, never remembering my kindness, always siding with Gu Ningxi. I have thought about it. If only Shanshan showed me a little more love and gratitude, perhaps I would have spared her and not gone to extremes. But now I know, whether this father and daughter live or die, it no longer concerns me. Xia Huaiji finally realized after seeing me make such a well-organized accusation. Song Shui, you wouldn't have been reborn like me, would you? I readily admit, Xia Huaiji, you know better. In this life, I will make sure you pay for the evil you've done. I threw the divorce papers in Xia Huaiji's face. Since you refused to sign and keep arguing, let's see you in court. Taking advantage of Xia Huaiji's momentary hesitation, I immediately took out my phone and posted the evidence I had previously compiled and the essay I wrote myself online. The horrifying incident of using the original wife's womb to give birth to the third party's child instantly topped the trending searches. Netizens have expressed, this couple is so malicious. They even came up with such a sinister scheme as borrowing a womb. This child is also a heartless ingrate, not worth pitying. Some also question the authenticity of this incident, saying such a bizarre event could not happen in reality. Fortunately, I was prepared in advance. In order for Xia Huaiji to face public scrutiny, I started a live stream, brought Shanshan's hair and the hair Gu Ningxi left at my place, and went straight to the paternity testing center. Paying a premium for an expedited report, the moment Gu Ningxi moved in, I had already decided to get something from her for a paternity test later. In the live stream, those supporting me and those questioning me were in a heated argument. Gu Ningxi has been staying out of sight since the incident, yet, the netizens still managed to dig up her address and information, at the moment the paternity test results came out. Seeing the results confirming that Gu Ningxi and Shanshan are indeed biological mother and daughter, I broke down in tears in front of the camera. I endured all the great damage and risks of childbirth, fought for my life to give birth to the child, and then raised her with great hardship. Not only did she not show gratitude towards me, but she also abused and despised me all day long, solely wanting to reunite with her birth mother. In conjunction with some videos I previously released, netizens immediately exploded. I never expected there to be such a terrifying story in the world. This couple and their ungrateful daughter are truly heartless. Can they be put in jail? Legal experts have also come forward to comment. Their actions of deceiving me and secretly implanting an embryo into my body without my knowledge could indeed involve legal violations. As the situation escalates, Gu Ningxi couldn't sit still any longer. She immediately went live to Neil and apologized to me, while also stating, I truly had no idea Xia Huaiji stole my eggs and used your womb to have a child. It's Xia Huaiji who has been infatuated with me. After I rejected him, he resorted to such despicable means to conceive a child with me. I know nothing. I'm a victim too. Regarding Gu Ningxi's behavior of turning against for self-preservation, Xia Huaiji has grievances he can't express. The day of the trial, Shanshan was even more upset, crying and demanding to find her mother. Why doesn't Ningxi mom want me anymore? I want Ningxi mom. I want my mom. Xia Huaiji impatiently pushed her to the ground. Don't mention that woman. Shanshan has lost a lot of weight and her hair has turned dry and yellowish. Seeing that her tantrum wasn't working, she came running toward me. crying loudly again, "Mom, I'm hungry. Can you cook something for me to eat? Dad doesn't know how to take care of me at all. And Aunt Ningxi is gone too. I want to go home with you." I pushed her away with a cold expression. "I'm not your mother. You should go find your real mother." Shanshan was used to my unconditional love and tolerance. Seeing that I truly refused to accept her anymore, she sat on the ground, wailing loudly. I, however, walked into the courtroom without looking back. Xia Huaiji also hired a high-priced lawyer in an attempt to save some of his assets. He argued vehemently in court, trying to smear me with all sorts of accusations, no matter how eloquent he was. There was no turning back. Faced with irrefutable evidence, he had no choice but to reluctantly accept the outcome of being stripped of everything. Exiting the courtroom, he was immediately taken away by the police, who said they needed his cooperation in investigating the matter of embryo transplantation. This incident, due to its severe impact, not only affected him but also led to the private hospital that assisted in the surgery being shut down for and under investigation. Although I was the victim, yet, I bravely accepted media interviews. In front of the camera, I encouraged all unfortunate girls and families, "Don't be afraid, you must first learn to protect your own rights, love yourself well, and only then can you achieve a happy life." After obtaining all the property, although I couldn't bear to leave those kind neighbors, nevertheless, I quickly sold the house and other fixed assets, and with the money, I prepared to start a new life in another city. On the day I bought my new house, news came from my former neighbor. "You know what, Xia Huaiji and that vixen had a huge fight, and in the end, the vixen accidentally pushed your shameless ex-husband down the stairs." Xia Huaiji landed on his back and was instantly paralyzed from the waist down. He lay in bed, not a single visitor in sight. Gu Ningxi was arrested. Shan Shan, unwanted by anyone, was sent to an orphanage. Seeing that they all got their just deserts, I calmly enrolled in the adult self-study exam course. In this life, I will devote all my time and energy to myself, living a quiet and happy life. Story 2. My husband was in a car accident, resulting in the amputation of his left leg and left arm. His wife Moonlight immediately distanced herself from him after seeing his condition. My husband harbored resentment toward me, complaining about why I signed the surgery consent form. He said if I hadn't agreed to the surgery, there might have been a chance to save his limbs. Later, he turned on the gas while I was asleep, intending to end both our lives. Fortunately, I was reborn. This time, I'll do as he says and refuse to let him have the surgery. If he wants to die, I won't stop him, but don't even think about taking me with him. 1. I received a call from the hospital saying that my husband, Yang Yuntian, had been in a serious car accident and that I needed to get there quickly. I agreed immediately, saying I would go right away. However, after hanging up the phone, I had no intention of leaving. Instead, I turned on a food-themed variety show, watching it while enjoying the luxurious Japanese takeout that had just arrived. I wasn't at all concerned that my delay might affect my husband's treatment, because this is the second time I've experienced these things in my previous life. After receiving a call from the hospital, I rushed there in a hurry. The doctor told me that Yang Yuntian's vehicle had collided with a large truck, which overturned. Yang Yuntian's left side was crushed by heavy objects for a long time, and amputation was necessary to possibly save his life. Between the options of living with disabilities and dying whole, I decisively chose the former. After an 8-hour surgery, Yang Yuntian was successfully saved. However, he lost his left leg and left arm in the process. But Yang Yuntian couldn't accept this outcome. He blamed me for meddling. He claimed that doctors always exaggerate the condition, insisting that he could have survived without amputation. My mother-in-law, Zhao Hohot, chimed in, saying that doctors have performance metrics and can charge more for surgeries and treatments if they amputate. I was completely deceived. Because of this, Yang Yuntian has always harbored resentment toward me, especially when his longtime crush, Liang Ranran, saw him in that state. She was so frightened that she turned pale. She immediately distanced herself from Yang Yuntian and then disappeared without a trace. After that, Yang Yuntian became even more irritable. He told me that he had finally waited for Liang Ranran to get divorced, and he finally had the chance to be with her. Unfortunately, I ruined everything. I understood that Yang Yuntian was in a bad mood after his amputation, so I didn't argue with him. I just told him to calm down. If he wanted a divorce, I could grant him that. To my surprise, what I got was not forgiveness, nor a divorce agreement. It was Yang Yuntian's decision to end it altogether. I died from carbon monoxide poisoning. Now that I've been given a second chance at life, I certainly won't be making things difficult for myself again. Didn't Yang Yuntian say that if I hadn't agreed to the surgery back then, He could have survived intact. I'll be watching with interest. I'm eager to see whether modern medicine is more reliable or whether Yang Yuntian's arrogance prevails. He's the type who won't believe until he sees the coffin. And my mother-in-law, Zhao Hohot, who said I lacked social experience and got scammed. This time, I'm staying out of it and letting her, the seasoned socialite, handle everything. Let's see if she can successfully outsmart the scammers. After finishing my meal, I noticed I still had some time to spare. So I went back to sleep comfortably, too. When I woke up, I checked my phone and, as expected, saw over 99 missed calls, all from Zhao Hohot. I figured it was about the right time, so I did a messy makeup look and took a taxi to the hospital. My unique appearance caused taxi drivers to ask if I had been beaten up and if they should call the police for me. I said, no need. The person who beat me is in the hospital and they probably won't make it. The driver also comforted me, saying, evil begets evil, things will get better for you in the future. I said, yeah, I think so too. When I arrived at the hospital ward, I saw Yang Yuntian lying motionless on the bed. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law Zhao Hohot was crying bitterly beside him. It seems Yang Yuntian has fulfilled his wish to die rather than have his limbs amputated. He successfully kept his arms and legs intact and went to meet the king of hell. Seeing Yang Yuntian's lifeless face, I felt an indescribable sense of satisfaction. Rounding it off, I guess I helped fulfill his wish. How is that not a good deed? Zhao Hohot stopped crying briefly after seeing me. She shouted at me, you jinx, why did you come so late? Were you trying to kill your husband on purpose? Your husband got into a car accident, and instead of rushing to the hospital to take care of him, where did you go? I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand that had been smeared with chili oil. Then said sorrowfully, I was supposed to drive here, but my car broke down halfway. I couldn't get a ride the whole way, so I had to walk, but I fell not far into my journey, scraped my knee, and twisted my ankle, so I moved slowly. Zhao Hohot said, do you know that because you didn't come, no one signed the surgery consent form for my son, and that's why he died without timely surgery? You killed him, I asked puzzledly. Mom, weren't you at the hospital the whole time? Couldn't you have signed the surgery consent form? Why didn't you sign it? Yuntian is your own son. Tell me, were you deliberately trying to kill him? My mother-in-law retorted, you're lying. How could I have killed my own son? I said, why, exactly, why didn't you sign the surgery consent form for Yuntian? Poor Yuntian, he was killed by his own mother. The onlookers who had been watching from the sidelines couldn't hold back anymore. Your mother-in-law said there was no need for amputation, that it would heal on its own. She also claimed the doctors were exaggerating the consequences to make money and deliberately scaring her. She said she wouldn't sign, and wanted to see what the hospital could do about it. Zhao Hohot said, he's lying, the doctor never told me I had to sign or my son would die. It's all their fault for not explaining clearly. It's these people in the hospital who conspired to kill my son. A nurse stepped forward. I knew it. You'd blame the hospital and shift all the responsibility onto us once something happened. We were recording everything when you said those things. It's not as simple as you twisting the truth with a few words. After that, the nurse opened her phone and played Zhao Hohot's unreasonable and outrageous statement. I threw myself at Yang Yuntian's bedside, shaking his lifeless body and weeping. Yuntian, your life has been so hard. You were actually killed by your own mother's ignorance. She has always been unreasonable and stubborn. You said that there are no perfect parents in the world, and asked me to endure it. How could I have imagined that my yielding would eventually lead her to take your life? I was still putting on a vigorous performance when I heard a gasp from the crowd. It turned out that Zhao Hohot had fainted. 3. Actually, Zhao Hohot had always suffered from high blood pressure, and she was already deeply affected by the death of her son. Then, she suddenly found herself accused of causing her son's death. It was normal for her to faint from the shock. The doctor quickly administered emergency treatment and then told me, the patient is suspected to have a cerebral hemorrhage. With the possibility of full paralysis, you need to be mentally prepared. I stood there in a daze, momentarily unsure of how to react. The onlookers praised me for being loyal and righteous. Even though my husband died because of my mother-in-law, I was still so heartbroken when I heard she was sick. In fact, they were all wrong. It wasn't sadness, it was shock, because I saw a semi-transparent Yang Yuntian kneeling on the ground, hugging and crying over Zhao Hohot. If I hadn't seen Yang Yuntian's body lying on the bed, I would have thought he had risen from the dead. What's going on now? Did I accidentally shake Yang Yuntian's corpse too hard earlier, causing his soul to be dislodged and condense into a ghost? And judging by everyone else's reactions, they can't see Yang Yuntian's ghost or hear his voice. Haha, things are getting interesting. taking advantage of Zhao Hohat's hospital stay, I quickly called the crematorium to have them come and take Yang Yuntian's body away for cremation. After Yang Yuntian's body was pushed into the cremation furnace, an attendant told me to go choose an urn. I walked around the area to check the prices of the urns, then told them, no need to buy one, I already have one. Then I raised the takeout box I was holding. I said, you don't know, my husband loved takeout the most when he was alive. Putting his ashes in a takeout box will make him feel more at home. The seasoned crematorium staff, even they, were stunned by my words. After realizing I wasn't joking, they stammered, this takeout box is too small. It probably won't fit, I said. It's okay, just fit as much as you can, we'll leave the rest. After Yang Yuntian was reduced to ashes, I took the takeout box to the waiting room. When I entered, I saw the ghost of Yang Yuntian, crying over his own ashes. If it weren't for not wanting him to know I could see his ghost, I would have given him a good scolding. Didn't he say it himself, live with dignity, or else prefer death? So what's with this sentimental act now? Forget it. I won't bother with him, I have important things to do. Yang Yuntian was heartbroken, and when he saw the takeout box in my hand, he started cursing, Ji Chingu, you wicked woman, how could you use this thing to hold my ashes? I ignored him and proceeded to carefully transfer his ashes into the packaging box. The staff wasn't wrong, the box really couldn't hold it all. I had the rest discarded by the staff. When I came out with the ashes, I was surprised to find that Yang Yuntian's ghost was missing an arm and a leg. It was exactly the left side. Haha, what a coincidence. Did I just accidentally scatter the ashes of his injured left leg and left arm? It seems that fate has its own mysterious ways. In this case, Yang Yuntian's ghost must stay by his ashes, following the parts of the ashes. Who would have thought that Yang Yuntian couldn't be a complete person in life, nor a complete ghost in death? It's hard to say if he regrets his past choices. With only one leg left, Yang Yuntian can only hop, and he falls several times due to the unfamiliarity. I deliberately slowed down to wait for him. After all, this ghost of his is quite useful to me. After leaving the crematorium, I didn't go home or back to the hospital. Instead, I went straight to Liang Ranran's place. I have some scores to settle. 4. Liang Ranran's residence was actually provided by Yang Yuntian. After Liang Ranran's divorce, she had no place to live. As Liang Ranran's loyal admirer, Yang Yuntian naturally offered his own house. However, that house was purchased by Yang Yuntian after we got married, and if a property transaction were to take place, my consent would be required. Therefore, the house has never been transferred and still remains in Yang Yuntian's name. The house under Yang Yuntian's name, that's my house, isn't it? I certainly have the right to handle it as I see fit. The door lock is still the same one as before, but the password has long been changed. No problem, though. I already brought the mechanical key for that lock when I left home. I used the key to open the door. My sole purpose here is to find the gold bars hidden by Yang Yuntian. Ever since Liang Ranran got divorced, she has been entangled with Yang Yuntian. Liang Ranran was the unreachable white moonlight of Yang Yuntian's youth, and he quickly made his choice between me and Liang Ranran. However, he didn't want me to take half of his assets, so he secretly transferred the assets and converted the money into many gold bars, hiding them here with Liang Ranran. He was just waiting for our divorce proceedings to be completed before taking out that money. Unfortunately, he got into a car accident before he could successfully divorce me. In her previous life, Liang Ranran immediately backed off and cut ties with Yang Yuntian after seeing him in such a terrible state. However, she remained silent about the gold bars and kept them all to herself. Naturally, Yang Yuntian, overwhelmed with grief, couldn't think of pursuing the matter, and so Liang Ranran easily achieved financial freedom. This time, I won't let her have her way. I'm going to find the gold bars ahead of time and move them. As for how to find the gold bars, I'm not worried at all. This house isn't that big. Even if I had to dig to the third layer of the earth, it would only take a couple of days. But now I don't have to go through all that trouble, because I have Yang Yuntian's ghost as my cheat. Since entering this house, Yang Yuntian has become extremely nervous. He must be desperate to leave those gold bars to Liang Ranyan, so he's afraid I'll find them. He doesn't know I can see him, so he's been circling around a wardrobe in the bedroom, wanting to open the door but unable to touch anything solid. It seems those gold bars are hidden in this wardrobe. I deliberately rummaged around, then pretended to casually open the wardrobe. I searched every corner of the wardrobe, but I couldn't find any trace of the gold bars. Fortunately, there was Yang Yuntian as a hint. He kept muttering that the hidden compartment in this wardrobe was exceptionally well made, and I definitely wouldn't be able to find it. A hidden compartment. If he hadn't mentioned it, I might not have found it, but since he did, I quickly noticed that one of the drawers was oddly sized. The interior dimensions of this drawer are much smaller than they appear from the outside, so I knocked, and discovered there was a hidden compartment beneath the drawer. When I opened it, a dazzling golden light immediately caught my eye. There were 100 gold bars, each weighing 1 kilogram. I quickly pulled out my carry-on bag and stuffed all the gold bars into it. As for Yang Yuntian's ashes, I certainly didn't have the extra strength to take them, so I left them there. He was just cursing up a storm, and I didn't want to listen. Normally, lifting 100 pounds at the gym feels like it's killing me, but now, carrying 200 pounds of gold bars, I'm practically sprinting. I took those gold bars home, put them in the safe, and then called a moving company, giving them Li Ranran's address and asking them to hurry over. For this, I even agreed to pay a 30% premium for the service. When Liang Ranyan returned home that night, most of her belongings had already been cleared out. 5. Liang Ranyan stopped the movers and told them to stop immediately. Who are you? What right do you have to move my things? Do you know this is called trespassing? I'm calling the police to arrest you. I walked out of the room and said, your personal belongings are in my house. You're the one trespassing. Okay, Li Ranran shouted loudly, you're lying. This is clearly my home, and the neighbors can all testify to that. I held up the property deed and said to her, see, the owner of the house is Yang Yuntian. Then I took out the marriage certificate. Look, I'm Yang Yuntian's legally recognized wife, married through proper channels. No matter how you look at it, this house has nothing to do with you. You keep claiming it's yours. Do you have any proof? Liang Ranran said, Jichengu, if you can't keep a man, do you have to take it out on me? This house was lent to me by Yang Yuntian, so it's mine. I said, Yang Yuntian isn't crazy. Why would he lend you the house? Liang Ranran said, just because I'm the one Yang Yuntian has liked for many years. I scoffed. Oh, so you say it's true. You sure have a big face. Humph, Jichengu, don't get cocky. I'm calling Yuntian right now. If he finds out you're bullying me like this, he'll definitely teach you a harsh lesson. After saying that, she dialed Yang Yuntian's number. The call ended with a message saying the number was unreachable. I said, you don't need to call, Yang Yuntian is right here. As I spoke, I raised the takeout box containing Yang Yuntian's ashes. Here, it's all in here. Well, not exactly all of it. The box was too small, so I just threw away what didn't fit. Liang Ranran slapped the package box out of my hand. Jichengu. No wonder Yuntian always says you're narrow-minded. Isn't it just because Yuntian often cares about me, and you're jealous? But how could you curse your own husband to be dead? I glanced at the urn on the ground and then at Yang Yuntian, whose soul had just swayed several times. Fortunately, this package box has a lid, and the ashes inside didn't spill out. Otherwise, Yang Yuntian's ghost might have lost even more. I took out another prepared certificate. This is Yang Yuntian's death certificate. Take a good look at the name and date, and you'll know if what I'm saying is true. Seeing the death certificate, Liang Ranran realized I wasn't joking. However, she didn't grieve over Yang Yuntian's death but thought of the gold bars hidden in her room. Jisheng, I can return the house to you, but I must take out my things. You have no right to dispose of my personal belongings, I said. I didn't dispose of anything. All your stuff is on the moving truck. Nothing is missing. If you want them, you'd better hurry up. I only paid for 1 day of storage with the moving company. If it exceeds that, you'll have to cover the extra costs yourself. Of course, if you don't believe me, you can go in and check now to see if there are any of your personal items left. Hearing this, Liang Ranran immediately rushed in, heading straight for the large wardrobe where the gold bars were hidden. Of course, she found nothing. Ignoring Liang Ranran's curses, I kicked her out and locked the door with my newly purchased heavy chain. Yang Yuntian, who had watched the whole scene, kept cursing me, calling me vicious, cunning, and ruthless. It was always the same few words over and over. I was so tired of hearing them. Once I got home, I dumped his ashes in the storage room and closed the door. Yang Yuntian's ghost couldn't open the door, so he was trapped inside. Finally, I could have some peace. But my peaceful days didn't last long. The next day, the police showed up at my door. 6. It was Li Ranran who filed the report, accusing me of stealing her things. I said, Comrade police officer, I'm truly wronged. That house was bought with the property my husband and I acquired after marriage, including the furniture inside. For some reason, it's bad enough that Li Ranran is living there for free, but how can she slander me like this? She said my husband let her live there for free. But he's already passed away, so there's no way to verify that now, but I don't plan to pursue it. I didn't ask her to pay back the rent for the time she stayed. I just asked her to move out. I've been more than fair, the police said. MSG, regardless of the reason, you cleared out Liang Ranran's belongings. Now that her things are missing, we need to file a case and investigate, so we hope you can cooperate, I said. I'll cooperate. Absolutely, I hired a professional moving company. And they provide full video recording services. If you don't believe me, you can check the surveillance footage with the moving company. I really didn't take Liang Ranran's things, Li Ranran said. If you're going to steal something, you certainly wouldn't do it when there are a lot of people around. You could have come to my house and taken the items first, and then called the moving company. How could the moving company's surveillance have captured you taking the items before they arrived? I said. After all this talk, what exactly did you lose? Li Ranran said. Gold bars, a full 100 kilograms of gold bars, I said. Li Ranran, as far as I know, you left with nothing when you divorced your ex-husband. Your parents are also ordinary wage earners. How could you have so many gold bars? You can't just file a false report to frame me. That's a serious waste of police resources, Li Ranran said. I'm not lying. I really lost 100 kilograms of gold bars, I said. Just because you say so doesn't mean I have to believe you. Why don't you show me the purchase receipt and payment records for the gold bars? If your stuff is really missing, I'm willing to cooperate with the investigation. But if you can't provide any evidence, then it means you're lying. You're deliberately filing a false report to frame me. Li Ranran was at a loss for words. She simply couldn't produce the purchase receipts or payment records for those gold bars. Yang Yuntian handled the purchase of all those gold bars. He was afraid of being traced during property division, so his gold bars weren't bought through legitimate channels. Even if Yang Yuntian himself were here, he couldn't produce the purchase receipts. Seeing Li Ranran stammering but unable to provide any evidence, the police immediately realized that Li Ranran was lying. Li Ranran was severely reprimanded by her police colleagues. They also warned her that if it happened again, she would be sent to detention to learn a lesson. Li Ranran angrily told me, I know you took that money, just wait, I won't let this go. Soon. I found out what Li Ranran meant by not letting this go. She pushed my paralyzed mother-in-law to my house. Although Zhao Hohat is paralyzed, her speech remains unaffected. She said, Jisheng, Ranran is already pregnant with Yuntian's child. You must transfer all of Yuntian's money into Ranran's name and also transfer the house to her. This child is Yuntian's only bloodline. All of Yuntian's possessions must be given to her. That way, even if I die, I can rest in peace. I looked at Liang Ranran's belly and showed a look of suspicion. 7. This didn't happen in my previous life. Was it Liang Ranran of the previous life who deceived Yang Yuntian, or is it Liang Ranran of this life who deceived Zhao Hohat? But none of that really matters anymore. Whether this child really exists or not, he won't benefit from it, I said. Mom, don't let yourself be fooled. How can you prove she's carrying Yuntian's child? Did you do a paternity test between this child and Yuntian? Liang Ranran said. Yang Yuntian is already reduced to ashes. What can I use to test? I said. So you have no evidence to prove it, but that's fine. I don't really care. If you say so, then it is. Zhao Hohat said. You're smart, so hurry up and hand over all of Yuntian's assets. I said. Mom, I haven't had the heart to tell you, but Yuntian didn't leave any money behind. Zhao Hohat shouted. How is that possible? My son ran such a big company. How could he have no money? Don't think that just because I can't walk, you can bully me. If you're smart, you'll hand over the money right away, or else I'll take you to court. I said. It's not that complicated. The lawyer has actually been trying to reach you. I just didn't want to bother you while you were in the hospital, so I didn't have the lawyer come see you. Now that you're out of the hospital, you should go see the lawyer as soon as possible. By the way, I've already signed a statement renouncing my inheritance of Yang Yuntian's estate. I don't want to take on all that debt just for a tiny bit of inheritance. If you want to inherit Yang Yuntian's estate, you'd better hurry. I don't care how you divide it among yourselves. I'm out of it, Li Ranran said. Don't think you can scare us with that. Let me tell you, I'm going to get Yuntian's inheritance. Even if he really owes money, I'll help him pay it back. I can't let Yang Yuntian be known as an untrustworthy person, even if he's dead. I won't let him leave behind a tainted reputation. After saying that, the two troublemakers stormed out, as if their goal had already been achieved. Is this disbelief in my claim that Yang Yuntian's debts exceed his assets? That doesn't make sense. Zhao Hohat doesn't know the actual situation, but can Liang Ranran not know? Yang Yuntian, in order to hide his assets, had long since transferred the company's shares, and he even fabricated fake loan documents. Yang Yuntian now only owns 2 houses. But that's not enough to cover his debts. To inherit the estate, one must inherit the debts, and the publicly known debts far exceed the estate. Only someone with a screw loose would want to inherit Yang Yuntian's estate, but I'm different. I hold 100 kilograms of gold bars. Why would I wade into that muddy water? How I wish Liang Ranran and Zhao Hohot would suddenly lose their minds and choose to inherit the estate, binding them together in a life of misery. Unfortunately, Liang Ranran is a rational person. Upon realizing there was no advantage for her to gain, she immediately bolted. Before leaving, she didn't even bother to send her disabled comrade home. I felt a pang of regret when I received the lawyer's call asking me to pick up Zhao Hohot. Reluctantly, I went to pick up Zhao Hohot. Such a dramatic scene couldn't be enjoyed by me alone, so I brought along Yang Yuntian's ashes. Let him experience firsthand the coldness of the woman he loved. When I arrived at the law firm, I saw Zhao Hohot waiting at the door. The lawyer explained to me, we originally wanted to keep her inside, but she kept cursing and accusing us of stealing her son's money, which affected other clients. Moreover, she has mobility issues and couldn't go to the bathroom on her own, so, the smell was just too strong, and the room wasn't well ventilated. We had no choice, I said. I understand. I won't blame you. By the way, what happened to Liang Ranran? The one who came with my mother-in-law. She said she was going to help my husband pay off his debts, but why did she run away? The lawyer said. It's not exactly running away. After all, she left us with some harsh words, accusing us of discrepancies between Yang Yuntian's assets and liabilities, and claiming we embezzled Yang Yuntian's money. She threatened to hire other lawyers to sue us. I wonder how she calculated it. How did she conclude that the assets and liabilities don't match? The lawyer's words gave me an idea, and I stared at Yang Yuntian's ghost for a long time. I feel that Yang Yuntian might have left me other surprises. However, I noticed something strange about Zhao Hohot's condition. Since I arrived, she hasn't spoken a word. If it weren't for her eyes moving, I would have thought she was dead. I pushed the stinking Zhao Hohot to the hospital. There was no way we could take a car. No one would agree to drive us. Fortunately, the hospital wasn't far. After examining Zhao Hohot, the doctor told me that she had been emotionally distressed, which worsened her condition and caused her to lose her speech. Although Liang Ranran ran away, I, as a kind and considerate daughter-in-law, would never let my mother-in-law sleep on the streets alone, but there's no way I'm personally taking care of him. I hired an open truck and sent Zhao Hohot back to her hometown. The house in her hometown was renovated just 2 years ago with our money. The living conditions are quite good. I told Zhao Hohot, Mom, even though Yun Tian is gone and I don't have an obligation to take care of you, I'm not the kind of person who would abandon you. Don't worry, as long as I have a meal, you'll have a bowl of porridge. But you know, Yun Tian owed a lot of debt. The house we're living in now will have to be sold to pay it off, and we'll be kicked out. Fortunately, this house in our hometown is still under your name, so you can stay here indefinitely. The medical facilities may be a bit lacking, but the living environment is quite nice. We can't just sit around and let our savings run out, so I need to go out and earn money. Plus, I'm clumsy and I'm afraid I won't take good care of you. That's why I've decided to hire someone who is quick and efficient. I don't feel comfortable hiring a stranger, so I think we should find someone we know. How about Yang Yuntian's aunt? You've been sisters-in-law for so many years, so you must have a good relationship. I'll feel at ease if she takes care of you. Zhao Hohot let out a muffled sound. I deliberately said, I knew you'd be happy. Yang Yuntian's aunt is notoriously lazy, and she and Zhao Hohot have had plenty of arguments over the years. The aunt often says, don't you ever fall into my hands. Haha, I told you people need dreams. Here's the opportunity. Under her aunt's care, Zhao Hohot grew thinner day by day. At first, my aunt felt embarrassed when she saw me, but later, realizing I didn't question her actions, she gradually understood my stance. After all, during the years after I married Yang Yuntian, Zhao Hohot played the role of the wicked mother-in-law diligently. It's no surprise I had no feelings for her. I agreed with my aunt to pay her a monthly salary of 3,000 yuan. And I prepaid half a year in advance. After taking care of everything, I went home. Of course, I took Yang Yuntian's ashes with me. 9. On the way, Yang Yuntian's ghost kept chattering nonstop. You took so many gold bars. You clearly have money. So why did you lie to my mom and say you didn't have time? With my mom's temperament, she finds fault with everything. Do you really think she can get along well with my aunt? You should have taken care of my mom yourself, I said. So, my aunt can't stand my mom, but I can. Is that it? Yang Yuntian was shocked. You can hear me, I said. Not only can I hear you, but I can also see your ghost. Yang Yuntian asked. When did you start being able to see me? Why didn't you tell me earlier? I said. Tell you earlier. If I had, Could you have let me know that you buried gold bars in the yard of your old home? Yang Yuntian was shocked. You know, I said. I didn't know at first, but I have to thank Liang Ranran. She claimed that your assets and liabilities don't match. That made me wonder if you had some gold bars that even Liang Ranran didn't know about. Your car may be destroyed, but I found the ETC toll records and knew you had recently returned to your hometown. But you didn't tell anyone about it, so I used the opportunity of sending your mother back to your hometown to take you there as well. All the effort paid off. While you were circling around that peach tree in the yard. Didn't I just find out? Or did you think I locked you in the cellar yesterday for no reason? I just wanted to see if I could dig up any treasures, and guess what? I actually found some. Yang Yintian was furious. Jichingu, I underestimated you. So you've been after my money all along, I said. Our marital property. Do you expect me to just hand it over to Liang Ranran? You're quite the character. While you were alive, you were so wary of Liang Ranran that you hid some of your money. Now that you're dead, you want to be completely open with her. You were even planning to visit Liang Ranran in her dreams after receiving incense offerings. But too bad. I won't be burning paper money for you. And it seems Liang Ranran never did either. Yang Yuntian said. Liang Ranran is carrying my child, so of course, I have to plan for her. I said, even as a ghost, you're still so naive. Liang Ranran wasn't pregnant at all. And her divorce from her husband wasn't because of domestic violence, but because she cheated and got caught red-handed by her husband. Otherwise, why would she agree to leave with nothing? Today, I'm going to show you exactly what kind of person Liang Ranyan is. I took Yang Yuntian's ghost to a hotel and stumbled upon the scene of the wife catching the mistress. That mistress was Liang Ranyan. Since she disappeared, I hired a private detective to find her whereabouts. I discovered that Liang Ranyan quickly found someone else. Of course, I wasn't going to let her off easy. I sent photos of Liang Ranyan on a date to the man's wife and also revealed the time and place of their trysts. And that's exactly how it happened. It said that this man made his fortune through his wife, whose family are all big shots in the underworld. It seems Liang Ranyan is in for a rough time. When Yang Yuntian saw Liang Ranyan's flat stomach, he realized he had indeed been deceived. He cried like a fool. He told me that he felt there was nothing holding him back in this world. Could I find someone to help him transcend and reincarnate? I said, I don't think that's a good idea. You're so young, and you haven't had the chance to experience the beauty of life yet. I plan to take your ashes on a global tour so you won't have any regrets. Yang Yuntian was very excited, saying that I was the best person to him in this world. I thought to myself, you'll soon regret saying that. After that, I did indeed take Yang Yuntian's ashes to many places. However, at each place, I would scatter a portion of the ashes. Yang Yuntian's ghost, too, was becoming increasingly fragmented. He finally realized what I intended to do to him. He wanted to fight me to the death. But even his complete ghost couldn't harm me, let alone his now scattered fragments. I walked and through, until Yang Yuntian's ghost completely dissipated. Not everyone deserves to be reincarnated, now. The world is truly quiet. This is a long novel. Please click on long novel in the upper right corner of the homepage to read it in long novel mode. The end. That's the end of the first story. Don't go away. The next one is even more exciting. While I was hospitalized with cancer, my top-scoring son swindled all my surgery funds, gambled online, and tipped borderline female streamers. He said the thing he hates most in this life is me, because I ruined his life. When I opened my eyes again, I was back 3 years ago, and my son was accusing me with red eyes, blaming me for turning him into a test-taking machine. Fine, then don't study. I looked at him coldly, and from now on, every decision you make in life will have nothing to do with me. This time, I gave my son all the freedom he had been clamoring for, but in the end, he regretted it bitterly, crying his eyes out. My son has once again topped the citywide exam for sophomores. The news quickly reached me through my colleagues, who all praised him. How I envy teacher Jiang for having such an outstanding son. If I were you, my life would be complete. I smiled politely. I used to think the same way. After work, my son's homeroom teacher, Lao Su, stopped me at the school gate. Teacher Jiang, your son Yan Yuan wants to go to the liberal arts class for the subject division. You need to persuade him to switch to the science track. When it comes to such an important exam as the college entrance examination, interest isn't the most crucial factor. I paused to think. Old Su said the same thing to me when my son was choosing between liberal arts and science in his previous life. After hearing that, I immediately found my son and forced him to join the science class. On one hand, it was for his future employment, and on the other, science was indeed his stronger subject. That year, He performed exceptionally well in the college entrance exam, becoming the top scorer in the city for the science section. With the competition points I helped him apply for, he could attend the best university in the country and study one of the top programs. After graduation, he would have an even brighter future. In reality, however, he didn't even make it through his sophomore year before completely ruining his life, skipping classes, dropping out. That's just the beginning. The day I was hospitalized with a terminal illness, he came to keep me company, which was rare, but that night, he took my bank card, claiming it was for surgery fees, and then transferred all the medical funds out. While I was waiting for surgery in bed, he gambled away the money and tipped borderline explicit female streamers. He spent all 80,000 yuan of the emergency money in one night. When I caught him, he still smiled and said, "Mom, don't you know that the thing I hate most in this life is you? How can someone who ruins their child's life still deserve to live? Just die sooner." At this thought, I shook my head and said, "Lao Su, if he likes liberal arts, let him choose it. The child is grown, with his own ideas, so I won't interfere." After saying that, I picked up a bag of test papers and walked away without looking back. That evening, as I was correcting my students' papers at my desk, my husband Yan Hua called in a rage. "Jiang Wan, how dare you decide the child's path on your own? Yes, you'll say Yan Yuan is your child, so what? Don't forget his surname, he still carries half of my Yan family's blood." I interrupted his anger. "Come back this weekend, we need to deal with that matter." As soon as I hung up the phone, I spotted my son, Yan Yuan. He was wearing his school uniform, carrying a black backpack, and stood red-eyed at the entrance, not knowing how long he had been there. When he saw me, his face instantly filled with hatred, as if he were looking at an enemy. "Why do you have to interfere with something as personal as choosing between liberal arts and sciences? All you ever did was push me to study. Did you ever care about what I truly wanted? You're really suffocating me. I'm your son, not just a test-taking machine." I took off my glasses and rubbed my temples. "Why get so excited? It's just about choosing between liberal arts and sciences. As Su Lauscher told me, you can choose whatever you want to study, you don't need my permission." My son looked stunned, as if I were lying to him. "If you don't want to learn, then don't," I continued. "Every decision you make in life from now on is none of my business." I meant every word of that. Yan Yuan was my only son, and in my previous life, I gave him my all. Wanting to control everything, and ended up controlling too much. As the first college graduate from a rural family, my growth was full of ups and downs, so as soon as my son was born, I had already mapped out his path in advance. From the very beginning of his education, every teacher he had was carefully selected by me. While other kids were still playing, he was already taking classes, training, and competing with top teachers in the city. In addition to the tens of thousands of dollars spent on tutoring every year, I also drive over 200 kilometers round trip to take him on weekends. Year after year, I've always believed that it's okay to endure some hardship at first. Life is inherently about going through tough times before enjoying the sweet moments. After all, how could one possibly gain control over their life by simply lying low and enjoying a carefree, happy existence? "Aren't you just threatening me?" my son suddenly shouted. Then slammed the door and went back to his room. I sighed. My son thought I was speaking angrily to him. On Saturday morning, as soon as my son learned that his father Yan Hua was coming, his gloomy expression brightened up instantly. He happily went back to his room to change clothes, humming a tune while brushing his teeth. At 9 o'clock, Yan Hua arrived at the door, covered in dust. As soon as he pushed the door open, his son excitedly rushed into his arms before he even had a chance to set down his suitcase. Yan Hua reached out, and the two embraced tightly. "Son, you've lost weight." After parting, Yan Hua patted his shoulder and took out the gifts she had brought from the suitcase: sneakers, clothes, tennis rackets, and a phone. His son held the phone, his eyes lighting up. "Dad, how did you know I wanted this?" His voice lowered again. "Phones affect studies, and Mom won't let me use it. Take it back." "Why can't I use it if I bought it for my son?" Yan Hua deliberately raised her voice. "That's just how she is. Nothing is ever allowed, always finding fault, always nitpicking. All he does is study. Don't turn my son into a fool." His son sighed, still unwilling to put the phone down. "Dad, you're always so good to me." What a touching scene. I couldn't help but clap. Over the years, I've given my son everything I could, but my son always felt that the dad he rarely saw was the one who loved him the most. Accordingly, his mother, that's me, is the demon in his life. I am even the source of all his misfortunes. I smiled and returned to the room. taking out the divorce agreement I had drafted yesterday and placing it on the coffee table. Yan-Hua, come and sign this. The son, who was closest, jumped up immediately after seeing the words on the cover. Mom, what do you mean, you actually want to divorce Dad? All these years, Dad has worked hard to earn money for the family. So busy that he barely has time to come home a few times a month. What more could you want? Dad is such a great man. After saying that, he turned to Yan-Hua. Dad, you wouldn't agree either, would you? Yan-Hua's face lit up with joy. Good son, go get your dad a pen. The son was stunned. Yan-Hua patted his shoulder. Your mom's personality, not just you. I've had enough of it too. What about me? The son suddenly asked. What will happen to me if you two get divorced? I definitely want you. Yan-Hua patted his shoulder. I'd be willing to leave with nothing just to secure custody of you. The son's eyes reddened, moved as he looked at his dad. No, I'll tell the judge. I only want to stay with you. They hugged again, and Yan-Hua looked at me, beaming with satisfaction, as if to say, I knew my son would choose me. I wasn't surprised at all. In my previous life, my son hated me so much, not just because of my controlling nature, but also because of his father's death. A month before the college entrance exam, Yan-Hua was driving on the wrong side of the road and collided with a large truck. The car immediately caught fire and burned. When he was brought to the hospital, he was still alive, but living in a state worse than death, with severe damage to his body and brain organs, and extensive severe burns covering his entire body. Severe burns, even if he were to be saved. It would be better to be dead. In the end, I signed the document to withdraw treatment. I didn't tell him until after the college entrance exam was over so as not to affect his grades. My son was devastated, feeling like an ungrateful son for not seeing his father one last time before he passed away. It was from that moment on that my son completely regarded me as his enemy. He hates me for keeping everything from him. He hates me for not saving his father. He hates me even more for putting studying above everything else in his life. So when I later got a terminal illness, he said I deserved it. Well, I did deserve it. Who on earth gave birth to such a beast? After watching this long drawn-out display of filial piety, I can't help but speak up. Hold on, let me say a few words. First of all, this house has always been mine. When we got married, your family had nothing, not even a penny. Secondly, I smiled at my dear son, who said I wanted custody. What a cheek. Yan-Hua was overjoyed, like winning 5 million in a lottery, when he realized I wasn't fighting him for our son's custody. Our son has been famously excellent since he was young, consistently ranking first in citywide exams. Anyone could tell at a glance that he was destined for greatness, with an unlimited future ahead, completely different from Yan-Hua's illegitimate child. In my previous life, I never told my son about Yan-Hua's car accident. Nor did I reveal Yan-Hua's sordid past. When Yan-Hua was hospitalized after the car accident, I encountered a woman who came to visit him. The woman, with an 8-year-old boy in tow, grabbed my trouser leg and knelt down in front of the entire hospital. She claimed that this was the son she had with Yan-Hua. Now that Yan-Hua is dead, they should get half of the estate. No one knows what I went through during that time. I thought Yan-Hua was always at odds with me because of our son's education. To the point of wanting a divorce, to prevent our son from growing up in a single-parent family, I refused to divorce Yan-Hua and only lived apart from him in my previous life. Little did I know, he was keeping a mistress and had a secret child who was already in elementary school, all under the guise of an overseas assignment. Such a disgusting person, yet the best dad in the world to his son. If that's the case, let him go with his dad. I want my son to happily go to his dad's new home, pursuing the freedom he desires. However, when he discovers that his perfect dad has been hiding a new wife and another son from him all along, and he is the one who, what expression would he have when he's an outsider in the family? Just thinking about it makes me incredibly excited. Yan-Hua spent the entire weekend playing with his son. It wasn't until the weekend evening that his son remembered he had homework to do and rushed back. My son knocked on my door while I was working on a teaching paper. After opening the door, he angrily asked, "Why didn't you make dinner for us?" I retorted, "Didn't you eat out?" Yan-Hua loves taking her son out to eat. I used to disagree, thinking that cooking outside was unhygienic, so I only allowed him to eat at home. Every time, no matter how late he came back, the food on the table was still warm. This week, I decided to let him fully enjoy his time with his dad, so I didn't call him at all. "I need to come back to do my homework," my son said while looking at me, as if waiting for me to go to the kitchen and cook for them. I stayed seated. "The food is in the fridge. You can heat it up yourself if you want to eat. Didn't you say doing housework was interfering with your studies?" he questioned. It's already been 2 days. What difference does another moment make? Are you saying you won't get into college? As soon as these words were spoken, his son's face darkened. Just because I divorced your dad, does that mean I'm not your son anymore? Not even willing to cook a meal? Even if I'm your son, I still need to take care of my own affairs, I continued. Besides, aren't you the one who hates it most when I take over your responsibilities? My son looked at me in disbelief. I hate it when you only push me to study, but I don't hate it when you cook for me. At this moment, I suddenly understood the freedom my son wanted. I must unconditionally support what he wants to do. For what he doesn't want to do, I must selflessly step in and take care of it for him. I smiled and shook my head without saying a word. My son shouted, "Look at you, getting old. Will I even take care of you?" He slammed the door and left. Yanhua and I started the divorce proceedings. Our son seemed to want to bring up the topic several times but ultimately chose to stay silent. Since our son still needs to take the college entrance exam at our school and my house is close to the school, he will stay with me until after the exam. Together, however, he is completely upset with me. Usually, as soon as he gets home, he shuts the door and decides not to say a word to me. I've gotten used to it. Moreover, not having to wash his clothes, cook for him, analyze his test papers, supervise his studies, or drive him to city training classes every week, I have a lot less to do. I also began to reflect, maybe, in my previous life, I really did discipline him too much. Did I really impose my will on him without realizing it? Did that lead him to become such a person with such a temperament? If I hadn't pushed him to study, would he not have gone down the path of decline? But soon, the events that followed gave me a new perspective. Yanhua claimed he only wanted custody of their son, but when it came to dividing the assets, he changed his tune. Although the house we currently live in was bought by my parents before our marriage, after we got married, we took out a loan to purchase another property in the city center for our son. We used my provident fund to make the monthly payments. What Yanhua is fighting for is this property, he argued forcefully. This is the house we bought together for our son's wedding. Now that the son is with me, the house naturally belongs to me, he added. The son also said, "Mom, you've already been given another apartment, so don't argue over this one." Dad said that whatever is his is mine, Yanhua continued. As a mother, you shouldn't be arguing over your son's things, should you? Even though we're divorced, Yan Yuan is still mine, our shared child. As parents, isn't it all for the sake of the child? I let out a cold laugh. Yanhua, using other people's things to curry favor is your usual tactic. Since you're so good to your son, you must have saved a couple of million over the decades you've worked. Why don't you buy another house for your son, one with more space and in a better location? Jiangwan, Yanhua immediately blushed and argued with me, saying that I also contributed to this house. Yes, you contributed 1/10 of the down payment, I coldly said. According to the investment ratio, I get 90% and you get 10%. What's the problem? Is there a problem? Yanhua exploded instantly. He slammed the table and stood up, glaring at me. Jiangwan, do you have to calculate everything so precisely? After decades of feelings, how can you be so cold-blooded? I was so stunned by his questioning that my mind went blank. I truly never expected, that he could say my lines so calmly and confidently. After saying that, Yanhua nudged his son's arm. Xiao Yuan, you should also persuade your mom. This is your future inheritance. After hesitating for a moment, the son said, Dad, whether it's given to you or Mom, isn't it all meant for me in the end? Not necessarily, Yanhua whispered to him. What if your mom finds someone else and has another child? Then you won't get anything. I looked at them deeply. One dared to cheat, the other dared to believe. Unbelievable. Due to issues with property distribution, Yanhua refused to sign no matter what. He even thought that my sudden decision to divorce must be because I had someone else, which is why I was so eager. So, he resorted to a very underhanded tactic, dragging it out. He started avoiding discussions about property division with me, not replying to messages, and not answering calls. Moreover, he knew exactly how to ruin a woman's reputation, spreading rumors. Every time he sees a classmate or relative, he uses his usual routine to accuse me of being an unfeeling woman. The accusations are nothing more than that I, as a mother, am having an affair while my son is about to enter his final year of high school. Not only does he want a divorce, but he also plans to embezzle our son's assets. On the surface, he didn't accuse me of anything, but every word he said conveyed the same message. I was heartless and cold-blooded, not a good mother or wife in any way. Plus, since our son switched to the liberal arts class, his test scores have been poor several times. which made his words even more credible. In no time, all sorts of rumors and gossip about me spread throughout the workplace. Even my son's homeroom teacher, old Sue, subtly hinted at me a few times. The implication was that this is a critical period for the child, so family conflicts should be put on hold for now, before I could be drowned in spittle. I took leave and went to a hospital in the provincial capital for a full-body checkup. In my previous life, I died of cervical cancer. Early symptoms were not detected, and by the time they were discovered, it had already progressed to an intermediate or advanced stage. Not long after, I received my latest medical examination report. The doctor told me that since the diagnosis was relatively timely, it is now stage 2 cervical cancer, with the cancer cells having spread only to the pelvis. They have not spread elsewhere. He suggested starting with chemotherapy followed by radiation, with at least a 60% cure rate. Holding the medical report, I slowly closed my eyes. Compared to the 10% recovery rate in my previous life, this time it's 50% higher. It's still not a figure that can ease one's mind, but since fate has given me a second chance, even if it's only 50%, I'm going to seize it. Do not say the mulberry and elm are late. The evening glow still fills the sky. This time, I must change the outcome of my previous life. After opening my eyes, I calmed my emotions and thought about how to deal with Yan Hua. If he wants to play dirty, I'll play along to the end. On weekends, I deliberately followed Yan Hua a few times by car, but surprisingly, I didn't find any mistress or son around him. In my previous life, it wasn't until he was hospitalized after a car accident that the woman who came to the hospital to kneel before me appeared with the child. So, where on earth did he hide that mother and child? Back at school, I saw Yan Yuan's name on the list of the science experimental class again. After asking my colleagues, I found out, the leaders of the school's academic affairs office, as well as Lao Su, all believed that Yan Yuan had the potential to be the top scorer in science. In order for the school to achieve good results in the college entrance exam, they had several talks with Yan Yuan, almost coaxing him back. Studied science, I was momentarily stunned. An unbreakable marriage, an unavoidable cancer, an unfindable lover or mistress. And my son's choice. It seemed as if some unseen force was at work, still pulling everything toward the predetermined path. It is said that teacher Jiang has returned, after doing all those shameless things. Does she really have the nerve to teach us? Yan Yuan is really pitiful. It is said that he has been so disheartened that he doesn't even want to study anymore. I stood at the classroom door, about to push it open forcefully, when a clear female voice rang out. Did you really see it with your own eyes? The other students paused, and a boy angrily retorted, everyone is saying it, and if she were decent, why would she be talked about? The girl calmly rebutted, if someone says a few words, you listen. What if one day someone tells you to eat shit? Will you do that too? You're such a grown-up, don't you have any judgment at all? Teacher Jiang has taught us for so long. Do we really need others to tell us what her personality is like? The boy sneered. What kind of personality is that? Like the sister subdue evil. Out of all 12 classes in the grade, we're always the last to get out of class, and our physics homework is the most. The girl continued to argue, but our class also has the best physics scores, and out of all the physics teachers, Teacher Jiang is the best. The boy was about to argue back, but I pushed the door open, slowly walked to the front of the class, scanned them all, and then spoke. Class begins. After class. The class representative brought the homework to my office. She's the girl who spoke up for me just now, and she's an exceptionally bright student. After placing the homework, she whispered, Mr. Jiang, many of us trust you. I didn't expect to be comforted by my own student, so I smiled at her and casually picked up an application form for the physics competition. Qin Miao, I remember you're quite good at physics. This year's physics competition, I'm short one tutoring student. Would you like to give it a try? Among all the kids in the class, I have a deep impression of Qin Miao. She is diligent and hardworking, consistently ranking in the top 10 at school in regular exams. However, in her previous life, Qin Miao did not take the college entrance exam. Qin Miao lost her mother in childhood, and her father was a gambler who, after getting drunk, sold his daughter. As a result, Qin Miao dropped out during the first semester of her senior year. Not long after, she was found dead by suicide at home. I won't let the tragedy that happened to her repeat itself. Just as I don't believe my life script is unchangeable. Qin Miao widened her eyes in surprise. I'm willing, but I'm worried. There's nothing to worry about, I said. As long as you want to participate, I'll make sure to train you to at least reach the provincial second place. But let me be clear, my standards are high and my expectations are strict. Teacher Jiang, I couldn't ask for more. Qin Miao immediately replied, his eyes sparkling, in my previous life, I forced my son to participate in the physics competition. Only after I switched to Qin Miao for tutoring did I realize the experience was completely different. My son takes everything for granted, and no matter how much I teach him, he always looks reluctant. Qin Miao, on the other hand, is the complete opposite. She even welcomes it eagerly. However, I didn't expect that by not asking my son to participate, he would come to me on his own. Mom, have you forgotten who your real child is? Yan Yuan stood at the office door, his gaze passing over me to fix on Qin Miao, who was doing problems at the side of my desk. I'm a senior this year, and you're my physics teacher. Such an important matter as the physics competition, and you didn't even ask if I wanted to participate. Could it be that you really have someone new outside? Just like Dad said, he walked step by step towards Qin Miao. What is the relationship between her and you? Is she your illegitimate daughter? Yan Yuan, seeing him getting more and more absurd, I immediately turned cold. Do you know what you're saying? You said I didn't ask you because I knew you wouldn't be willing even if I did. The son immediately replied. How do you know I wouldn't want to if you didn't ask me? I participated in the physics competition this year too. I was taken aback. So, you want me to tutor you? A look of embarrassment flashed across my son's face, but he quickly spoke up fiercely. Do you think I can only find you? Other teachers are begging to teach me. Just wait and see how I crush the student you picked during the competition. After saying that, he turned his head and stormed off angrily. Soon, Lao Su came to find me again. Mr. Jiang. Why is Yan Yuan so determined to participate in the physics competition? As if he's made of iron. We originally didn't recommend him to participate because he missed several months of classes, and his focus should be on catching up now. Mr. Jiang, this is your own son, who else would take care of him if not you? Got it. I closed my eyes and said no more. Qin Miao is a very competent student. On weekends, when she didn't understand a problem, she came straight to my house to ask. My address wasn't a secret to my students. I used to often invite them over for meals. Teacher, am I disturbing you? No, curiosity is the most precious quality of a student. I pointed out the solution to the problem and then invited her to stay for lunch. When my son woke up, this was the scene he saw. I was cooking in the kitchen while Qin Miao sat at the table in the living room, deeply engrossed in her homework. His face darkened instantly, and he rushed into the kitchen to ask me, Mom, why is she in our house? I was stewing spare ribs and didn't even look up as I said, because you said yesterday that she's my illegitimate daughter. So I treated her like my daughter. My son's face turned black. He paced back and forth between the living room and bedroom several times, finally pulling out a stack of papers with a dark face and sitting across from Qin Miao. While Qin Miao was thinking, he would move his chair deliberately, making a loud, grating noise. But Qin Miao was highly focused and didn't even glance at him. When I finished cooking and came out, my son seemed to have been spurred on. As if competing with someone, I suddenly drifted off into a daze. If a child is undisciplined, it is the father's fault. In that instant, I felt a sudden weakness welling up within me. After being reborn, I decided for the first time to have a proper talk with my son, Yan Yuan. Actually, Teacher Su is right. At this stage, you'd be better off attending school. You're missing too many classes, and the timeline for the physics competition is too long, which will definitely affect your grades in other subjects. Don't worry. There will be other opportunities in the first half of next year. But my son just looked at me with a sarcastic expression. If it weren't a good thing, would you let Qin Miao participate? I'm going, and you can't stop me. Can you tie me up? I immediately crushed my fleeting moment of weakness. 3 months from now, the provincial physics competition is about to begin. Both my son and Qin Miao attended the short-term training. After the training camp, the official competition begins. However, an unexpected accident occurred the night before the training camp. Yan Hua was involved in a car accident on his way back to his hometown, and his condition is unknown. The plot point from the previous life has arrived early. In the next moment, I saw my son, who was about to enter the exam hall, calling me, Mom. Is something wrong at home? I paused, remaining silent for a moment. My son immediately spoke coldly. I knew you wouldn't tell me, but I already know. Dad, he was in a car accident last night, and his condition is still unknown. I'm his son. I'm an adult. I have the right to know. I don't want to miss seeing him one last time if something happens to him. Mom, people like you, who are cold and heartless, will never understand the bond one have with Dad. I'm telling you, I'm not taking the exam. I moved the receiver slightly away from my ear and calmly gave him the address, 32, Jiefeng Road, Inpatient Department of the City Hospital. Building 5, Room 203, the door isn't locked, just push it open. After saying that, I hung up the phone. I am sitting here in the hospital, by Yanhua's bedside. He remains unconscious. I quietly wait, anticipating the unfolding of a drama. Half an hour later, the hospital door swung open. A woman dragged a boy into the ward. After locating me, she knelt down directly in front of me. Moments later, the entire ward was filled with deafening cries and screams. When the son rushed in from the exam venue, he saw this scene. The woman held her child with one hand and tugged at my trouser leg with the other, crying out in a piercing voice, "Yanhua, if you die, what will become of us, mother and son? Sister, have pity on us. My son Yunzhen is only in 4th grade, and his father has already passed away. Yunzhen, come and kowtow to your aunt. The lawyer said you have the right to inherit your father's house." The son stood there dumbfounded, staring at the woman kneeling at my feet, and after a long pause, he stammered, "You, who are you? What are you talking about? What are you babbling about? This is clearly my dad's bed." I nodded to my son and said, "You're here, come meet her. You'll have to meet her sooner or later. Anyway, you'll be one family from now on." I pointed at the woman throwing a tantrum, "Your new mom." Then I pointed at the boy still sniffling, "Your brother, Yanhua, just waking up on the hospital bed, looked terrified. Your dad is awake too. As a family, they really are all here now." I remarked, "The son and that woman are fighting." While hitting, he yelled, "You liar, I don't believe you." The fight didn't last long. On one hand, because he was a weak student, and that woman, though she looked frail, was ruthless. On the other hand, it was because of Yanhua, who pulled out the needle and rushed in front of the woman and child. "Don't hit them, it's all my fault." As he shielded them, he also tenderly covered the eyes of the terrified, crying little boy. "Don't cry, little one, Dad will take you for fried chicken later." The son's fist, which had been thrown out, stopped in its tracks as he looked at his father as if he were a stranger. "Dad," he asked, "is this true?" Yanhua avoided his gaze and turned to glare at me. "Jiangwan, is this all you're doing? I knew it, you vicious woman. You'd do anything for the house, even lose your shame." After saying that, he leaped forward, raising his hand as if to slap me across the face. Due to the car accident that left him with a broken bone, he lost his balance before completing the move and fell to the ground, almost like he was bowing to me for the new year. "My leg," he cried out loudly, clutching his trapped left leg. "I'm going to sue you. You deliberately hurt me." The woman, with her child by her side, gathered around Yanhua and began wailing. "What's all the noise about?" The on-duty doctor stood at the door, speaking irritably, "Mind your manners, other patients need to rest." "Doctor," the woman called out urgently, "my husband's fractured leg just got injured again. Please take a look at him." The doctor walked in, examined for a moment, and said, "This uncle is fine, nothing will happen. Don't get worked up." He stood up, his gaze slowly falling on my face, and he paused. "Is it you? Have you thought about the treatment plan we discussed last time? Such an important illness, it can't be delayed." After saying that, the doctor frowned and looked at the few people next to me, accusingly. "A minor fracture can send someone into hysterics. But how can you not care about something as serious as cancer?" Yanhua's face lit up with excitement. "Cancer? Did I hear that right? She has cancer. Doctor, are you serious?" The doctor looked at us strangely, as if he had never seen such an odd family before, but he nodded firmly in confirmation. Yanhua immediately burst into hearty laughter. "It's a blessing from above. I'll go burn incense tomorrow. Thank Buddha for giving this woman cancer. It's truly divine intervention." That woman is overjoyed too. The two of them hugged and started dreaming about dividing the inheritance in the future. "But honey, these are your wife's assets. Can you inherit them if she dies?" "If she dies, it will all go to my son Xiaoyuan." "What about my son Yunzhen?" "Well, Xiaoyuan's is Yunzhen's. They are brothers after all." Yanhua placated the woman with a word, and immediately introduced them. "Xiaoyuan, come meet your new mom and brother." Yanhua's words were not finished. The son tightly clenched his fist, making a guttural sound in his throat. In the next moment, his fist slammed hard into Yanhua's left cheek. "Enough!" The son, eyes red with anger, roared, "How long are you going to treat me like a fool? Are you even worthy of being my father? I actually gave up my exam for you." Father and son, entangled in a struggle, like two beasts locked in a relentless fight to the death. The mountain of fatherly love that Yenyuan revered in his heart has completely collapsed today. I walked out of the chaotic room. The rest is none of my business. Yanhua wasn't wrong. I was indeed behind his car accident this time. Rather than waiting until his fatal car accident during senior year, it's better to flush him out early and expose his true nature. Moreover, my health won't allow me to endure the daily spectacle of a few clowns dancing in front of me. It was I who suggested returning to our hometown to Yanhua. For this reason, I deliberately softened my stance on property division. As long as he agreed to return to our hometown with me to visit our family, on the way back, I was the one driving. I deliberately bribed an acquaintance, a cowherd uncle, to pretend he couldn't control the herd, causing them to rush onto the rural road and block the path ahead of us. The payment was a spot for his child to attend the central school in the city. For the sake of his child, he would of course help me wholeheartedly. In a critical moment, I turned the steering wheel, directing the collision toward Yanhua's side. I wouldn't let Yanhua die in a car accident. I just made him temporarily unconscious. Finally, I got his phone and sent a mass text to all his contacts. I've been in a serious car accident. Baby, hurry and bring our son to the hospital. Ask Jiangwan for your share of the house and inheritance. Don't write too much, after all. Those who are meant to see it will come rushing. Even those who shouldn't see it can infer what happened from this message. The dirt Yanhua threw at me will eventually fall back on him. Of course, this isn't over yet. I filed for a forced divorce in court, citing Yanhua's bigamy. It is illegal for him to cohabit and have a child with another person while still married to me. I used to struggle without any evidence. Just moments ago in the hospital room. They didn't notice that my phone was placed high in the corner, recording video, with both eyewitnesses and physical evidence. No matter how hard Yanhua struggles, there's no turning back. This marriage, whether he wants to end it or not, will end. When the court's verdict was issued, my medical leave application submitted to the school was also approved. Before leaving the school, I made a special trip back to brief the new teacher about the situation of the children in my original class. I had thought that the children in my class disliked me, given how strict I was with them and my serious demeanor. As it turned out, during the final handover, the children in the class were all in tears. Teacher Jiang, we don't want you to leave, I'll be back. Teacher Jiang, the most outgoing kid among us, cried out, don't lie to us, we all know you have cancer, and we might never see you again, we might never see you again, Teacher Jiang. The boy who scolded me last time looked at me with bloodshot eyes. I'm sorry, Qing Miao was right, I am just a idiot, always blaming you, but forgetting how much you care for us. Every exam, you take the time to talk to each of us, analyze our papers, and encourage us not to give up. Other teary-eyed students also spoke up. Teacher Jiang may seem strict, but she cares for us more than anyone else. I attended class while sick. But Teacher Jiang sent me home to recover and even used her spare time to help me catch up. My grades were so poor, yet Teacher Jiang didn't scold me. Instead, she gave me reference books she had personally selected. Qing Miao cried the loudest. My dad won't let me study anymore. He wants to sell me for a bride price. It was Teacher Jiang who gave him all her money. She said my dad was short-sighted and that I would definitely succeed in life. This is the first time in my life that someone has recognized me like this. I studied and took exams recklessly just to make sure you wouldn't be disappointed. Amidst the sounds of weeping, I tried to steady my emotions and knocked on the table. Enough with the crying, it's not a serious illness. The doctor said I have a 60% chance of recovery, yet you're wailing as if I'm already dead. As if. The classroom gradually fell silent, and the afternoon sun slowly crept over every inch of the room. Falling on the young faces, I slowly began to speak. Deciding to give my final lesson and say something I wouldn't normally say. Children, there are two kinds of pain, one that makes you stronger, and another that is utterly worthless, merely adding torment. This is a phrase that Teacher Jiang holds dear. In the past, knowledge transformed Teacher Jiang's destiny. After becoming a teacher, Teacher Jiang hoped it could do the same for you, for everyone's destiny. At the very least, it can give you more choices when life is at its most painful. After all, exams, especially major ones, are your only chance to compete on an equal footing with others. You must be sick of hearing this by now. When Teacher Jiang was young, his family was poor. If he hadn't studied hard to get into university, he probably wouldn't even have the money for medical treatment now, and would just have to wait for death. Talking about this now is not to glorify your current suffering. Teacher Jiang also hates suffering, but he understands that suffering cannot be escaped or resolved. If you currently dislike the life and rules that cause you pain, then Teacher Jiang hopes that in the future, you will, because of this suffering, have the ability and resources to change them, creating a fairer future for the next generation, and even the one after that. Because our present is the result of the hard work and struggle of generations past. Class dismissed. 18. I went through a long treatment process when the college entrance exam ended. So did my successful battle with cancer. No one expected that Qing Miao would be this year's top scorer in the city's science stream. With the additional points from her provincial first prize in the last physics competition, she can choose any school and major. Time flies, and the story of the carp leaping over the Dragon Gate continues to repeat, just with a different person. After the results came out, she called me in a frenzy to share the good news, despite her usual calm demeanor. Should I choose Tsinghua or Peking University? She asked, dazed. There's a professor at Tsinghua who was my senior during my undergraduate years. His research focuses on a project that is heavily supported by the state and is in dire need of top-tier talent. Do you need me to recommend you to him? I want it. I want it. Teacher Jiang, I love you. I hung up the phone and saw the message Lao Su sent me. He's been messaging me a lot lately. Ever since I divorced Yan Hua and our son Yan Yuan was awarded to Yan Hua, our son has completely changed, either frequently coming late and leaving early, or playing with their phone in class. Grades have plummeted. Lao Su often contacts Yan Hua to discipline his son, but every time Yan Hua agrees verbally, he doesn't take it seriously at all. To win back his son's favor and have him side with him again, he indulges his son's every request. Even so, Yan Yuan often mocked him. Fortunately, Yan Yuan had some foundation and eventually got into a university. What I regret is this. Lao Su angrily told me that it's not that he couldn't, but that he could have but chose not to. Everyone has their own way of living and blessings. I replied to him, maybe this is the life Yan Yuan wants to pursue. Come on, we both know that no one doesn't want to live the top-tier life, Lao Su said. It's a fierce battle where only the strongest survive. Isn't it all just for the ticket to the higher level? Children are always naive, but as their guides, we cannot afford to be naive. People are different. That's all I could tell him. Mr. Jiang, I never expected you to truly abandon him. You can give up on others, but he is your own son. For women like us, isn't a successful child the greatest fulfillment of this life? Someday, you will surely regret it. Finally, he sighed and hung up the phone. When I saw Yan Yuan again, he was already a senior. He wanted to study abroad to improve his qualifications and asked me for 200,000 yuan. With the current job market, it's impossible to find a job with just a bachelor's degree. Yan Yuan complained impatiently over the phone, saying he had submitted his resume for the autumn recruitment over and over again, but those companies would immediately reject it once they saw my school. I didn't give him any money, but I referred him to Qin Miao's company. Qin Miao started his entrepreneurial journey outside of college during his sophomore year, and now it has grown into a startup scale. If he stays patient and works hard, this industry is also a future growth area. As it turned out, Yan Yuan never went. Later, I found out that Yan Yuan's study abroad was just an excuse. Back then, he was once again addicted to gambling, just like in his previous life. The so-called study abroad was merely a pretext for him to swindle money. At first, it was just the pocket money each month, but later the bets got bigger and the losses grew. Unfortunately, for those with weak self-control, a sudden income of millions can completely alter their brain, making them no longer content with ordinary wages. So, he set his sights on Yan Hua. Yan Hua had been working for so many years, keeping all the money tightly in her own hands. Of course she wouldn't give it to him. The next time they saw the father and son, it was on the front page of a social news section. One was dead, hidden in a refrigerator. One wore a prison uniform, crying bitterly at the camera. My father cheated on my mother when I was young, leaving me with severe psychological scars. My college entrance exam failed because of him, and he ruined my entire life. If he hadn't hurt me so much, I wouldn't have taken action. Dying would be a relief for him. Watching the live TV broadcast, I let out a long sigh. Outside, Qin Miao called out to me loudly, Aunt Jiang, the New Year's Eve dinner is ready. Come down to eat. I responded and quickly turned off the TV. The living room was filled with esteemed guests, representing the fruits of my labor. All the students I've taught over the years. Every year during the new year, they would gather friends and come to visit me at home, while also reuniting with their own friends. In this lifetime, I never had my own children, but my students became the carriers of my knowledge and thoughts. Isn't this another form of fulfillment? And that's all for today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Feel free to leave any suggestions in the comments below. See you in the next video. I know, 16, 17.